Loudest box in tennis. Coco Gauff's team is driving opponents absolutely crazy. Welcome back to Chatterbox, the place where tennis drama gets the full, unfiltered treatment it deserves. And oh my goodness, do we have some drama for you today? Because what unfolded on the clay courts of Madrid this past Sunday was not just a tennis match. It was a courtroom trial, a soap opera, a medical emergency, and a masterclass in mental warfare, all crammed into 3 chaotic sets under the Spanish sun. Grab your popcorn. No, seriously, grab 2 bags, because this one is absolutely wild from start to finish. So here is the scene. The Mutua Madrid Open, one of the most prestigious clay events on the WTA calendar, and world number 3 Coco Gauff is stepping out onto the Manolo Santana Stadium court to face Romania's Sorana Cîrstea in the 3rd round. On paper, it looks like a routine assignment for the reigning French Open champion and top American in the world. A warm afternoon in Spain, a sellout crowd hungry for fireworks, and 2 warriors ready to compete. And compete they did, just not always in the way anyone expected. Because within the very first set of this match, before the tennis had even reached its boiling point, Sorana Cîrstea was already marching toward the chair umpire with fire in her eyes and a complaint on her lips that would send shockwaves through the tennis world by the time the final ball was struck.
Come on, aggressive, let's go, take this all day long, come on, forehand taken, come on, first serve, this is coaching.
Yes, but I don't you hear everything like this? I cannot hear from here, okay?
On my side, either I tell my team, they also start screaming on them on the other side and they coach, or maybe you call the supervisors, this is more than each current.
She pointed directly at Gauff's coaching box and told umpire Kater Nooney, and this is the quote that is burning up social media right now. She said the coach is screaming from that end, come on, aggressive, let's go. Do this all game long. Come on, forehand, backhand, first serve, and she called it exactly what she believed it was, coaching. Then she dropped the line that really cut to the bone. She said they are bothering me because they are screaming in my ear.
Yes, but I don't you hear everything like this? I cannot hear from here, okay?
On my side, either I tell my team, they also start screaming on them on the other side and they coach, or maybe you call the supervisors, this is more than each current. Everyone is really nice, but they are passing over, and the second match is the same.
Let that sink in for a second. Sorana Cîrstea, a seasoned professional who has played at the highest levels of this sport for well over a decade, was standing there on one of the biggest clay stages in the world, telling an official that the noise coming from the opposing team's seats was so loud, so persistent, and so specifically instructional that she could hear it from the baseline. Not just a cheer, not just an excited clap, but full-on tactical commands shouted at a volume that apparently made its way directly into her ear while she was trying to focus on one of the most important matches of her clay season. And what did the chair umpire say in response? He told her that, for him, he could not hear any coaching. That was it. Case dismissed, play on, no action taken. Cîrstea, clearly unimpressed, walked away from the umpire with a shrug and muttered one final word under her breath that told you everything about where her head was, sportsmanship. She didn't scream it. She didn't throw her racket. She just said the word, turned around, and went back to the baseline to keep fighting. And honestly, that composure in that moment deserves its own round of applause. Now here is where the story gets even more interesting, because this was not the first time Coco Gauff's box has found itself at the center of exactly this kind of controversy. Let us rewind to September 2025, the China Open in Beijing, where Belinda Bencic was absolutely fuming about the very same thing. Bencic, who was leading by a set and playing some of the best tennis of her comeback season, grew visibly agitated with the noise coming from Gauff's coaching box during her service games. And at a critical moment in the 2nd set, she completely snapped. She walked toward the umpire and told them that when she was going to the line ready to serve, Gauff's team did not need to be cheering before she had even started her motion. Then, when Gauff attempted to join the conversation, Bencic shut it down with perhaps the most memorable line of the 2025 tennis season.
Yeah, but when I'm going to the line, ready to serve, they don't need to cheer. No one's talking to you. She's talking to me, okay? I haven't started.
She looked Gauff dead in the eye and said, "No one is talking to you. I am too old for these mind games, okay? Too old for these mind games."
No one's talking to you. She's talking to me, okay? I haven't started. Your team is chanting, I'm too old for these mind games, okay?
Coming from Belinda Bencic, a former Olympic gold medalist and a player who has been around this sport long enough to know the difference between genuine passion and deliberate psychological pressure, those words carried serious weight. The incident went viral immediately. Fans divided sharply. Some said Bencic was being oversensitive and that a player of Gauff's stature naturally attracts a passionate support team. Others argued that what Bencic described, cheering before the serve rather than after the point, was a very specific and very deliberate pattern that crossed a line. But the umpire did not intervene in Beijing either. Gauff went on to win that match from a set down, 4-6, 7-6, 6-2, and walked away as if nothing particularly unusual had happened. When the exact same complaint surfaced again in Madrid, 7 months later, from a completely different opponent at a completely different tournament, the tennis world suddenly had to sit up and pay attention. Because one incident can be explained away. Two incidents, from two separate players, with virtually identical accounts of what was happening and when it was happening, that is a pattern. And patterns demand a conversation. But wait. Before we even get into the bigger debate about coaching boxes and sportsmanship and WTA rules, we need to talk about what was happening to Coco Gauff herself during this match, because the coaching box drama was actually only the second most extraordinary thing that took place on that court in Madrid. The most extraordinary thing was the fact that Gauff, in the middle of the second set, vomited on the court, in front of everyone, and then kept playing. You heard that right. Coco Gauff, already trailing by a set, already being pushed to her absolute limit by a fired-up and motivated Sursti, stopped play to call for a physio and had her blood pressure checked by a doctor after being physically sick on the court surface.
Oh, and talking of doubles, Sorana Castella is a doubles champion here in Madrid.
She did not retire. She did not ask for extra time beyond what the rules allowed. She wiped her mouth, accepted the medical attention, and went right back out there to compete. And not just to survive, but to absolutely dominate the rest of the match, winning the second set 7-5 in a dramatic comeback, and then blowing Sursti off the court in the decider, 6-1, to complete one of the more stunning reversals Madrid has seen in recent memory. After the match, Gauff was typically composed and even a little self-deprecating about the whole ordeal. She admitted that the moment she actually vomited on the court was, her word, embarrassing. She said that after it happened, the first couple of games of recovery took everything she had.
There was obviously quite a frustrating moment for you in the second set with the serve that was then overruled. Can you just talk us through that moment and the frustrations going through your mind at that point?
Yeah, I think it was just overwhelming of everything. Obviously, I'm losing.
But she also made clear that she had made a decision going into that situation. She is someone, she said, who does not like to pull out. She does not like to retire unless she truly feels she has no other options. And so the plan was always just to finish, even if it ended up with her simply playing to get through it. That is the kind of mentality that separates great champions from very good players, and it was on full display in Madrid. Now, back to the coaching box, because this is the part of the story that is going to keep generating headlines long after the Madrid trophy has been lifted. Here is the fundamental tension at the heart of this entire debate. The WTA has in recent seasons expanded its rules around on-court coaching, allowing boxes to communicate more freely with players during matches. In theory, this is a fan-friendly rule. It creates more interaction, more drama, more visible connection between a player and their support team. But what nobody fully anticipated when those rules were loosened is the impact that increased box involvement would have on the opponent standing on the other side of the net. Because there is a very meaningful difference between a coaching box erupting in celebration when their player hits a clean winner down the line and a coaching box delivering a stream of vocal, instructional encouragement timed specifically around the moment the opposing player is stepping up to the baseline to serve. One is emotional support. The other, as Bencic and Sursti have both argued, with striking similarity in their descriptions, starts to feel like something altogether different. Targeted. Strategic. designed to put noise in the head of an opponent at exactly the moment they need quiet. And here is the detail that keeps jumping out from both incidents. Bincic was specific. The cheering was happening before her serve, not after Gauff won a point. Srsti was specific. It was a running stream of instructional phrases, delivered loudly enough to reach her at the baseline. Both players felt strongly enough about it to stop play and involve an official. Both umpires ruled that they could not hear coaching. And in both matches, Gauff came from behind to win, which, depending on where you stand, is either a testament to her incredible fighting spirit or a data point that raises uncomfortable questions about what role the atmosphere in her box plays during the pivotal moments of a contest. To be absolutely clear, nothing in the available evidence suggests that Gauff or her team has broken any rule as it is currently written and enforced. The umpires made their calls, or in this case, chose not to make one, and those are the rulings of record. Coco Gauff is a two-time Grand Slam champion who wins tennis matches because she is exceptionally talented, mentally resilient, and works extraordinarily hard. The idea that she needs psychological tricks to beat players is not supported by the facts of her career. She is genuinely one of the best in the world, and anyone who has watched her play knows that. But sport does not only ask whether something is technically within the rules. It also asks whether something is within the spirit of competition and the bounds of professional courtesy. And that is the question that two experienced players have now raised, independently, about the same phenomenon. When Sorana Srsti walked away from that Madrid umpire and said just the single word sportsmanship, she was not making a legal argument. She was making a moral one. And in the court of public opinion, those arguments sometimes carry more weight than any official ruling ever could. The WTA, for its part, now faces a genuinely tricky conversation. It opened the door to greater box involvement in matches without fully thinking through what the experience would feel like for the player on the receiving end of that involvement. If the next complaint comes from a third different opponent, the organization will have very little choice but to revisit its guidelines and draw some clearer lines about what constitutes legitimate encouragement and what crosses into something that disrupts fair competition. Because right now, those lines are blurry, and blurry lines in elite sport tend to get exploited, whether intentionally or not. Meanwhile, Coco Gauff's Madrid campaign rolls on. She advanced to the round of 16 where she was set to face Linda Noskova, the 13th seed, who advanced by walkover after her opponent Ludmila Samsonova withdrew through illness. From there, a potential quarterfinal awaited against any one of Katie McNally, Marta Kostyuk, or Jessica Pegula, all players capable of extending Gauff's already eventful week in Spain. Gauff is chasing her second consecutive Madrid final appearance, and given everything she already went through in the third round, with the illness, the controversy, the comeback, she will arrive in the next round having already proven that she has reserves of toughness that most players simply cannot match. Srsti, for her part, leaves Madrid having won the first set, having made her point loudly and clearly to anyone who was paying attention, and having shown that even in defeat, she carries herself with a kind of weathered dignity that commands respect. She is a 34-year-old professional who has seen it all, heard it all, and at this stage of her career, she says exactly what she thinks. She thought something was wrong. She said so. She was overruled. She shrugged and moved on. There is something almost admirable about the straightforwardness of it, even if the outcome was not what she was looking for. And so Madrid gives us yet another chapter in one of the most fascinating ongoing dramas in women's tennis right now. Not between two players swinging rackets, but between the idea of a coaching box is supposed to be a quiet support system watching from the stands, and what it is increasingly becoming, an active, vocal, tactically engaged presence whose noise carries across the court and into the ears of the woman on the other side of the net who is just trying to hold her serve. Is Gauff's box too loud? Is Srsti too sensitive? Is the WTA's rulebook out of date? Honestly, the answer to all three questions might just be yes, and that is what makes this story so endlessly compelling. Tennis is not just played on the court anymore. It is played in the stands, in the rulebook, and in the minds of the players long before the first ball is even tossed in the air. This has been Chatterbox, the channel that brings you every angle, every drama, and every story that the mainstream coverage leaves on the cutting room floor. If you made it this far, you are clearly a person of exceptional taste, So do us a favor and smash that like button because it genuinely helps get this content out to more tennis fans around the world. Drop your thoughts in the comments below. Do you think Gauff's box crosses a line? Do you think Sirsti was right to complain? Or is this just elite sport doing what elite sport does? We want to hear from you. And if you have not subscribed to Chatterbox yet, what are you even doing? Hit that subscribe button right now, turn on notifications, and never miss a single moment of the drama. We will see you in the next one.